It feels like ages since I've made a dramatic garment. I need swoosh! I made this fabulously cozy, comfy, hello, robe/dressing gown when we were going into this winter, and it has proven incredibly handy. We don't really say dressing gown in America anymore, but we should, because this is what I picture when you say robe, and this needs more dramatic terminology. I've worn it a ton. Honestly, I am still throwing it on many, many mornings because I am so incredibly cold-blooded. And swooshing around the house in this is not only a great way to gather up all the puppy fur like I'm a human broom, but it also makes me feel like an old school princess in her castle. A warm princess, which is just a delight. So, I want one for summer. This one might be a little less day-to-day useful because I want it to be a little more over-the-top dramatic, or a lot more. I am thinking big full skirt. I'm thinking I should learn to draw better. Nah. And ruffles. Ruffles galore. Which would be a fabulous drag queen name. Welcome to the stage, Ruffles galore. Yeah, that'd work really well. Wow, that's a mess. But you get it, right? I want the whole thing to be in a significantly lighter fabric than this so that I can use a crap ton of it and it won't weigh me down. Hey, beautiful, big stretch. So the last time that I was at Remainders, I was glancing around to see if anything fit the bill. I kind of wanted a cute print, something reminiscent of spring or summer, but then I also needed a lot of it. And what did I happen upon? Bees. Bees on yellow in a light almost sheer, but not actually sheer material that looked pretty dang solid in the yardage category. I got all of it. The person who cut it out for me was so excited because she said she had literally just put it out that morning and she was waiting to see who would take it, so perfection! 'Twas meant to be. I have already forgotten how much it was that I got, but I want to say this is like 10 yards. And this is a Joann fabric, which I managed to procure for like, what, half of their clearance rate? Oh, God, I love Remainders. So I looked on their website to see if it was still listed because I am finding myself uncharacteristically interested in the fiber content. I think just because I'm kind of thinking it's a cotton and I want to know. No such luck though, there were tons of bee prints still on there, but not this exact one. And I am still curious. So, how about a little fire? But first, a word from today's sponsor, and then we burn stuff. Well, hello. I am so pleased that Lumi is back to sponsor today's video, because honestly, they just have amazing products. And who doesn't need deodorant? I need deodorant. Lumi is a whole body deodorant invented by OBGYN Shannon Klingman. It is clinically proven to block body odor all day and continue controlling BO for 72 hours. We all know the pits need attention, but Lumi is not confined to that one area. You can put it anywhere on the body to block odor before it starts. We are talking pits, privates, and beyond. They've got a variety of application styles. Love that! None of which will stain your clothing, so feel free to apply them anywhere you're feeling a little stinky and in need of refreshing. Every option is skin safe, baking soda and paraben free, vegan, and pH optimized for use anywhere on your body. If you prefer aluminum free deodorants, they have a whole line available, and their 8 different scents like soft powder, clean tangerine, and cool cucumber are sure to please even the pickiest of noses. Lumi's starter pack bundle is a great deal for new customers. It comes with a full-size stick deodorant, a cream deodorant tube or spray deodorant, 2 free products like the wipes or mini body wash, free US shipping, and just for my followers, Lumi is offering an extra $5 off when you click the link in the description below and enter the code THESTITCHERY at checkout. That's a deal of over 40% off. Thank you to Lumi for sponsoring today's video and sending me all of these lovely smells. Now let's go smell some burning fabric. Woo! Okay, every time I do a burn test, someone freaks out, so I feel the need to point out, this is concrete, not carpet. We are outside. Let's burn stuff. Oh, caught quickly. It is burning quickly. And it's pretty much gone. Cool. Smells like a good old campfire. The ash breaks down to pretty much nothing. I think it's cotton. Okay, absolutely genius me did not observe that there's a logo right next to the Joanne logo that says cotton. All right, well, we had fun lighting things on fire anyway. It's a bunch of cotton, huzzah. So here is my next quandary. Is that the right word? I don't know, but it's a word that I want to use because it's such a good word. To pattern or to self-draft? Subcategory under to pattern with the pattern that I use so much and I know so well that's the same pattern that I made the other robe out of, or to try a new pattern. I don't really want to fully self-draft this just because I want sleeves on it, and I don't feel like figuring sleeves out today. If I was doing puffed sleeves, yes, but I don't want puffed sleeves, I want ruffles specifically. The only thing I'm not fully sure about when it comes to this pattern, McCall 7349, and adjusting it for the dressing gown, is the neckline, but I think I could literally just slope it down. On the last one, I left it up and I let that fold open as like a collar kind of thing. But on this, I think I just want to put a big ruffle around the neck. So why am I even considering a totally different pattern? Purely because I seem to recall buying a dressing gown robe dramatic thing pattern at some point. Let's see if I've even, I mean, of course I still have it. I didn't get rid of anything, but let's see if I can find it. There was a whole period of life, a short period of life, before I actually started sewing, when I bought a bunch of patterns. Because I still thought I needed patterns to sew, and I'm very glad I discovered otherwise. That's option number one. This one is like what the word robe means here. Kind of boring in my opinion. And it doesn't have any shaping to it. That's what I like, is I like using the princess seam shaping to make it into a dressing gown. It's not just this loose, sacky robe that you have to tie a thingy around to make it fit you. It's already shaped. I have the walkaway dress pattern. I didn't know I had that. Oh, it was this one. The thing that's clearly from a specific movie, but they can't say it's from that specific movie. What movie is this? I don't know, y'all know. Okay, but this is not at all the look that I want. I don't want these puffed sleeves. And this one has shaping in the back, like it has pleating in the back, which is really cool, but it doesn't have anything in the front. It's meant to hang open, and I do actually want like a closing in the front dressing gown. All right, well, guess what we are using? The one we always use. It's my destiny. Okay, I gotta go pick Matt up from the airport, but when I get back, we're cutting stuff out. Woo!
Tomorrow.
Yeah, okay, so I didn't get anything cut out after a round trip to the airport. Other stuff came up. But here we are, early in the morning, coffee in hand, bees on the table. Just like I like it. Let me get all the basics done first, and then we will chat about everyone's greatest topic of interest. Ruffles versus Flounces. I know, right? Aren't we excited? I decided right away that I want the bulk of the fullness on the skirt of this gown to be in the back so that it's got that kind of sweeping drama. Therefore, I widened the back piece quite a bit, and I'll also do 2 godets in the back. Briefly considered a train, but really, I can't go that impractical. This isn't supposed to be a costume after all. Tempting. The front piece I didn't widen at all, but I did cut out 2 of them, so they'll overlap in the front like a robe should. I'll figure out how I'm cutting down that neckline and finishing the edges once I've got it all sewn together. The back and front side panels I widened just as much as the width of my fabric would allow. Gotta get some extra swoosh in wherever I can. Now for all the non-pattern extras. Pockets, of course. I did a little patch pocket that I'm gonna try to hide on the inside of the gown too. Since I'm only doing 2 godets, I decided to make them absolutely giant. Huzzah! And then I remembered that I need a sash. Made it massively longer than necessary, cause why not? I'm so excited to have scraps of this fabric, which is a little funny to say, but like, this in my patchwork trunk of fabric is gonna be so fun. It's ready to use on future projects. It's not even just because of the bees, I also just really like the color yellow. It's very cheerful. I still have a decent chunk of material left despite having cut out so much, which is great because I am not kidding about the galoreness of the ruffles I desire here. And I know that I said we would talk about Ruffles and Flounces next, but I actually think that I should sew the base garment together first and try it on and make sure everything fits and stuff, especially since this is my first time doing the entire thing out of non-stretch fabric. I did do the top for my stained glass garment thing out of this pattern with a non-stretch material, but it was just the top, so this is actually kind of new territory for this pattern. And if I sewed it all together and it didn't quite fit and I needed a new back piece or something and then I didn't have enough fabric left because I already cut out a bunch of ruffles and flounces, that would be annoying. So how about we go sew and then we will come back for all of this. Bring on the French seams! French seams mixed with pockets and godets were kind of mind-melting, but it was actually really nice to have a challenge in this sewing project, get the gears spinning and all that stuff. And it was balanced by the fact that this simple cotton material is so freaking easy to work with. I mean, I always say knit material isn't that hard to use, the issues are overblown, it's easy. But I must admit that I perhaps have forgotten how easy basic non-stretch cotton is. In comparison, yeah, okay, knit can be a little tricky. Anyway, I wanted to solely focus on those French seam inseam pockets, so I started sewing without the camera on, and then wha-bam! Several hours later, I emerged from my fog and realized I had continually put off filming. And now we're finishing up the base dress. I sewed both godets in before doing the second seam on them, the French seam. Then halfway attached the sleeves so that I could try the whole thing on and be slightly reassured of the general fit. Hey, guess what? It generally fit. Okay, so current debate. Don't mind this sleeve, it is just not attached yet. This one is attached, French seamed, all of that. And my first reaction was that, like, it's too tight, and then I realized that's because I'm very used to stretch material. It actually fits perfectly, like, if I want something tight to my arm. I have range of movement, but it's like, it's snug on there in a really good way. Like, honestly, kind of surprising how perfectly it fits. But if this is a robe and the sleeve is that tight, I can't really put it on over anything that has sleeves. But as I'm saying that, I'm also realizing that this is not the kind of robe I would put on over something, because it's not a keeping warm robe, you know? If I'm gonna throw this on, it'll be like, I don't feel like getting dressed in the morning, so I'm just gonna throw on a dressing gown instead. So I think it's fine. I don't think I need the sleeves to be loose. Do they bother me? No? I don't think so. Great, thanks for joining me for that debate. We're sticking with the tight sleeves. Let me just, you know, sew on the other one. Heck yes, French seamed godet threads. I'm pretty pleased with that. Huzzah! Y'all, the shaping of this honestly does have a bit of a historical vibe. Is it just because of the sleeves? I have no idea, but I'm liking it. Sleeves are sewn on, godets are French seamed. We have what is essentially a basic dressing gown here. It's just a little too basic, huh? So I need to cut down my neckline. This is all the extra neckline material right here. And I'm gonna like slope it like so. And then, which will probably be tomorrow morning because it's kind of dinner time, we can actually talk about flounces and ruffles. As promised. I have been building this up way too much. It's just flounces and ruffles. Don't get too excited. So here's the deal. A ruffle is typically a long rectangle or strip of fabric that is gathered up at the top to create that fluffy goodness. While a flounce is a curved piece of fabric, often cut out in a spiral, although I believe you can also just do it in a circle. A butterfly sleeve is basically just a flounce. And it creates these more gentle undulations when you take that curve and straighten it out onto whatever you're sewing it onto, yeah? Though granted, you can also gather a flounce. If you make it bigger than you want, you can gather that end and then you have both the gentle undulations and the fluffiness together. I would normally just default to ruffles because they take less fabric, kind of, or they feel like they take less fabric, or I guess they waste less fabric because you're cutting out just these long rectangles instead of cutting circles out of something. Like more rectangles fit in a piece of fabric than circles do. However, ruffles and French seams don't exactly mix well. Because with a French seam, you're basically enclosing the edges of the fabric in a seam like this. And when the edge of that fabric is it can get really bulky. By the way, just in case you're new around here, I'm not continually using French seams here because I think those are the only proper way to finish your seam or something. I just don't have a serger, and French seams is honestly my preferred method for finishing woven fabric edges. I actually find it the easiest. Or the longest lasting? I don't know, I just don't find them that hard. So I think that I'm going to combine ruffles and flounces on this gown. My desire is 7 of them, 7, which is quite a lot. I want one ruffle around the neckline here, and this is the one that I am most thinking needs to be a flounce rather than a ruffle. I think it'll just lay better, and then also this is the place where you would most want the least bulk. The other 6 ruffles are 2 around each sleeve and 2 around the hem. 2 as in like stacked on top of each other. If I run out of fabric, I could drop it to 1 around the hem, but I like the idea of 2, and I do also still have a ton of fabric. So honestly, I don't anticipate running out of fabric. The ones around the hem at the bottom, I think definitely should just be ruffles because those are going to be the longest and require the most fabric, and doing a circle that could fit all the way around would be problematic. The sleeve ones, I feel like those could go either way. So maybe I should test some things. Stay. After that quick round of experimentation, flounce was the clear winner for the sleeves, so I cut out 4 circles, basically the same way you'd do a circle skirt, with a smaller circle cut out of the middle. I made this a little bigger than the circumference of the sleeve itself, so there will be a gentle gathering, and I don't have to be precise. I did the tiniest baby hem I could on all the circles, threw those gathering stitches around the inner circle, pinned them on, gathered them up, stitched them down, and yay swoosh! Just having the sleeves done already adds so much to this gown. I've now realized the historical era it's reminding me of is, I guess, American Revolution, because as soon as I put this on, I was thinking about the American Girl doll I had, which was Felicity. Kind of feels like the tea gown you could get. Let's do the collar ruff. I want to do this flounce as a spiral, so it involved a lot more staring into space, sketching, and using all the brain cells at once. No music, no TV, no distractions. This went on for quite a while. I was really aiming too big at first, are we surprised? When in the end, you don't need a very big circle to make a good length of spiral. I want to make this flounce double layer though, and since the curve in the center of the spiral is drastically different than the curve on the outside, I figured it would be best to put a seam up the back and mirror the two sides. I eventually landed on this snail shape, and then I cut out all 4 pieces before actually cutting out the spiral, just so they'll hopefully line up really well. To sew it on, I turned the 4 pieces into 2 pieces, then lined those up right side to right side and sewed them into 1 piece. A whole bunch of ironing later, we can baste all the way around the raw edge so I can gather it up and pin it onto the neckline. And here is where things started to go south real fast. So, well, I'll just let me tell you. So we've run into a bit of an issue here. Hello, pocket? I have futzed around with this flounce a lot, and one, I kind of wish it was even rufflier, but I would be okay with this, except that adding it onto the neckline has made the neckline very gapey, which is kind of always the issue you run into with any sort of wrap around the front garment that is a non-stretch material, or at least I should say, when I have tried to make that in the past, a wraparound dress in a non-stretch, I had the same gaping issue, even though it was a totally different pattern. So if I like pull on it and futz around and make it all perfect, then you almost can't tell looking straight from the front. It's like, oh, that's not too bad. I could leave that. But I can absolutely tell if I look down or if you look from the side. And then, you know, as soon as I move around a little bit, it does this. So, like, that's, hello, focus. That's the back of the fabric. And this is actually way better after I added top stitching right here. It was way worse without the top stitching. The issue here is kind of twofold. One, I don't know how to fix this, short of making a whole new garment, which ain't happening. It feels like what I would need to do is, first of all, completely remove this ruffle that is on here with like 8 different seams at this point, so yay. And then it's like this whole piece right here needs to be almost eased, like not actually gathered, it just needs to be slightly pulled together. And then I need like something stable put on here, like potentially bias binding or a facing with some interfacing. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not entirely sure how to fix it. Second issue being, I can't really do anything else to the garment until I figure that out, because I don't want to finish the edges here until I know what's happening up here, and I can't put the ruffles on the bottom until I finish the edges. Third side to this issue is I actually do have a time limit, because not only do we have visitors coming soon, which means I can't film anymore, but also as soon as they leave, I'm going on a road trip, which by now has already happened if you're watching this video. So usually I would just be like, it's fine, set the whole thing aside and pick it back up tomorrow, and maybe overnight you'll come up with a solution. But like, I only have so many days left to work on this before I would have to set the whole thing aside for a month, which is not something I want to do. Okay, what I am gonna do is set it aside and eat a piece of cake, and we'll see if cake creates solutions in my noggin. Make solutions for me, cake. Here's hoping. As usual, I had more time than I thought I had, but such is the story of my life. Here's the real deadline, here's my personal deadline. Real deadline here, my deadline here. Real deadline, my deadline. In college, I once handed in homework so early that the professor just sighed and handed it back to me and said, "Can you just please keep it for the next month or I will lose it?" Well, that was depressing. So yeah, after an hour of seam ripping, I futzed around and figured it out. I cannot stress enough how far you can get in life by pretending you know what you're doing and just going for it. But don't expect it to be easy. This was a very challenging sewing conundrum and it took hours to get it all done. But at last, whoop, that didn't get the table. But at last, we move on to the hem ruffles. Just some straight rectangular pieces of fabric. Yay! Oh god, it's gonna be so easy in comparison. Though not fast. These ruffles are gonna be absolutely massive. So I went ahead and hemmed the entire bottom of this because the ruffles are actually going to be attached like here and here, hopefully. And then I laid it out and measured it again, splitting it up into 3 segments. So there's 60 inches, 108 inches, 60 inches. I need each ruffle to be 12 inches tall so that I have hemming and seam allowance and everything and still 10 inches of actual ruffle. So I might still run out of fabric. No more curves though, and I'm excited. How much do I have left? Potentially 1 long strip all the way down my remaining fabric. Ugh, that hit me in the face. I basically have 230 inches left. Wasn't that about the length of the entire hem? 60, 60, 108? Yeah, huh, that's convenient-ish. So the length of fabric I have left is the length of my hemline, which means I definitely have enough fabric because I would just need 4 strips if I want each ruffle to be double the length of the hemline. If each strip is 12 inches, oh, this is not 60-inch fabric though, but it's 48, right? Do I have exactly the right amount of fabric left? Yeah, it's 48. Y'all, I have exactly the right amount of fabric left to do 2 10-inch ruffles around the hem of this dressing gown. 1, that is incredibly coincidental. 2, that is so much fabric. Ruffles, y'all. This is why if you ever see like big flowy garments with ruffles and flounces on them and stuff, they're probably gonna be expensive because that takes so much fabric, not to mention how much time goes into making those things. If it's not expensive, you should be questioning why. All right, so I'm just gonna fold up this entire chunk of fabric, cut it into 4 strips, and then we do the gathering game. Huzzah! Woo! Hi! Y'all, just adding the 1 ruffle has officially turned this into dramatic swoosh. Kinda doesn't even need the second one, but I'm definitely putting on the second one. Before and after. Yay! Oh my god, it's giant. Last thing I have to do is bind the front opening edges, and then we're done. Let's take a look. Y'all, I truly am so pleased with this. Like, no notes. I don't think I have any critiques. It turned out pretty much exactly like I was picturing. It has all of the swoosh and the ruffle that I wanted. It's like vaguely historical. It would be interesting to put historical undergarments under it, like petticoats and stuff, so it stands out. Wasn't there a time period where women wore very fancy dressing gowns like this and they were called like wrappers or something? Wrappers. My historical costuming or historical dress knowledge is light. I just feel like a princess. And I love that it's such an over-the-top, dramatic, fancy-feeling garment, but it's just made out of a simple cotton with bees all over it. Goes to show, you can make a very fancy-feeling garment out of very, like, simple, cutesy fabric. You really can. Just add more ruffles. I'm also glad that it was a challenge. Like, I feel more vindicated in it turning out well, because I had to put a lot of thought into making this not gape and have the ruffle and feel structured. Really used my noggin on this one. And then the ruffle around the hem was like going back to the basics for me because I've done so many gathered skirts like that. It's a bit of a weighty garment now. I mean, I used almost all the fabric and what's left is scraps. Like, I had that huge pile of fabric, 10 plus yards. Honestly, it might have been 15. I legit can't remember now. And only this is left, besides some like really small scraps there. Which means all of that weight is in this dress. But it's interesting how once you redistribute, whatever. Once you put it in the shape of a gown and put it over your whole body, suddenly it's like, yeah, okay, it's not that heavy. Like, there's some weight to the hem, but that's what makes it, like, swoosh super well. Anyway, I need some water. Yeah, okay, bye. I don't know what I'm doing. I just need to drink this coffee, honestly. I need coffee. I hear trotty paws. Ooh, that was weird. Where'd the puppy go? Why are we whiny? Oh, I'm fogged. You should go get the mail.
I'm afraid.
No, there's no spiders anymore.